Welcome to I think it's day 40 of curing bipolar disorder 1 with a ketogenic diet, other behavioral changes. Take a wild guess, I had lamb shoulder and sweet potatoes for dinner. There's something that I've been thinking about, and I kind of hesitated to even talk about this. There's something kind of comforting about the fact that these videos don't really get a lot of views. So I can kind of talk about things, but I've been editing my latest book, and I've been putting it off for a while, but I've gotten back into the saddle editing, and I feel really good about it, and it feels like something unlike anything I've ever written before. It's got a level of depth and clarity, emotional clarity, like nothing I've ever written before. And I go in and I spend time editing and writing and revising this book that's I do these things where I oscillate back and forth between time, and I have these narrative and formatting tricks to show the reader that we're going back in time and manifesting the voice of the character back in time. And I do these things. What's concerning is that it's so far afield of what I do during the day, and it wouldn't matter if I dug ditches or if I worked at a parks department or something. It wouldn't matter because that's just a different thing than writing. But so much of what I've done professionally is writing related, but it's a pure denigration of my talent to the point where I'm grateful for the job opportunities I've had. I write tweets for crypto companies. That's what I do. I make memes, and I get complimented for making funny memes. And there's a part of me that's it's amazing that I've built a career on that. That's cool. But I don't even like social media. And yet a big part of the jobs that I've had recently have been social media related. I don't even have a personal Twitter. And I don't know. I was gonna speak abstractly about artists and stuff, but I think for me, there's something unhealthy about it, and it's hard to talk about this stuff with people because most people are not artists. When I sit down, it's almost insulting to do my job well. Oh, there's a fly in here. Dude, I bet I could snipe it. It's if somebody tells me, oh, you did a really good job with that Twitter thread about that crypto thing. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? I'm reaching that point. The what are you doing point. The point where this job, I got fired last week, and now I have a new job. And the job that I got fired from, I'd been in it for 10 months. And it was just a recruiter reached out to me last summer. I was trying to get out of the crypto industry. They gave me a job offer, so I took it. And I feel like that's been a lot of what's happened in my career. There was an opportunity and I took it. Even if, when I first started in crypto, I was all about it. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. And then I built myself up a portfolio, and I built an experience from nothing. I don't feel that way about the crypto industry anymore. And what more important than that is that I do now have this reminder as I edit this book that there's something so much deeper inside of me that I have not tapped into professionally, not completely at least. And, when my last book came out, I didn't have a job. My full-time job was just promoting the book. And, the book did pretty well. that's the thing, is that I do have concrete evidence of having successful artistic endeavors. Primarily with this last book I had, clubbybook.com, clubbie.book.com. On sale now on Amazon. It's hard to explain this stuff to people because there's a lot of like, well, how are you going to make money and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I have to tend to that for sure. There's also a part of me that's like, what else can you take from me? You know, like, I'm 35 years old. I'm single. I've been in debt. I have had suicidal thoughts. I've been in, you know, one common experience of people with bipolar disorder is that they can't hold down a job. That's been me generally in my adult life. You know, a job that I keep for years. Like, I think that's the longest I've ever had a job, is 1 year. The only other jobs I've had for longer were like part-time jobs. But here's what I know as well. I know that God is telling me to go deeper. God is telling me to continue editing this book and like put more into it. And I have a vision for it, for how to present it to the world that I'm not going to talk about yet. And God is also telling me there's been this idea of starting on this journey with keto and with curing bipolar disorder and all of this, telling me, I don't know how else to put it, but telling me to get as jacked as possible, to push my body to become its most powerful form. I don't know how else to put it. That I have an opportunity, and I want to tell myself, like, well, how is that going to make me money? How is being jacked going to make me money? I don't know. The things that have been good in my life didn't start from that. They started from, at the time, I would not have articulated it this way, but it started from God telling me, giving me this inclination. And this isn't just a feeling that I'm having that's just like fluctuates here and there. Like, it's been there since I got this diagnosis, and there was inklings of it beforehand. Like, I'd have these fantasies about creating a video series about me getting jacked and me like figuring out nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And I just do this thing where I don't always follow that inclination, and I don't always listen to God until it's too late, it feels like. Or I follow a feeling thinking that it's the voice of God, and instead leave too early. You know, just like being rash with something. I have this tendency of either rushing too soon or leaving too quickly. And maybe it's time to like stop doing and to feel and to think, you know? Because here I had an opportunity, you know, Jung, apocryphally, I don't know how true this is, but he used to, if he had a friend who got promoted at their work, he would help them mourn. If he had a friend who got fired, he would help them celebrate. And I think the implication is that being fired from a job or having something taken away from you that you value is an opportunity to reassess things and an opportunity to transform for the better and to peel an onion layer closer to the you that you really are. You know, I got 2 weeks of severance from this job, but I have this other job. Like, there are all these voices from other people that I've internalized saying, like, again, like, oh, how are you going to make money if you're only writing, if you're getting jacked for keto, for like mental illness? Getting jacked for mental illness would be a sick charity. How is that going to make you any money? And why can't you just do both? I've seen what happens when I do writing type stuff for a living, marketing type stuff for a living. Dude, I get on these job interviews and I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't care. I don't care about your company. I don't care about SEO. I don't care about writing blog posts about your payment system. I don't care about growing the Twitter following. I don't care about better articulating the vaporware that you're creating. Whoa. That was weird. I don't care. I don't care about this stuff. What I care about is telling stories, dude. I care about writing dialogue. I care about... The lights went wonky and the phone storage got full both at the same time. That was strange. Here's the point that I'm making. I don't expect to only do things that I like for work. Like, I expect to work at it. When I wrote my last book and when I write this book, it's hard work to sit down, but it's work that I deeply care about. It's work that is self-fulfilling. It's work that is fulfilling independent of certain outcomes, because I know that it's the deepest expression of myself. You say, well, can't you do that on the side and do this other stuff? It hasn't seemed to be the case. I'm not interested in going back to school or any of that. I do think about back when I was in grad school. There's so much bullshit, so much politics, all this nonsense, a bunch of classes I didn't give a fuck about. I was sitting in these literature classes. There's a part of me that had a bad attitude. Like, I was there on a massive scholarship, all this kind of stuff, and I had a pretty easy teaching load. I taught one class a semester. But I would just be like going through the motions, doing all the stuff that was a distraction from my real goal. And that real goal was to write a book and to get a book deal. And I did that. It took me a long time, like a long time after graduation. 4 years after graduation, I published my book. But when I was in school, I was willing to do the bullshit literature classes and all the stuff I didn't care about because it was in service of this larger mission. What I have been doing in crypto, it's making money that would ostensibly be there to help me with this other mission of publishing this book that I'm working on now. But it hasn't felt aligned. Like, I feel like I have to lie to myself. When I was in school, I was fully myself. I was fully myself everywhere. And that doesn't mean that I was authentic to myself. It doesn't mean that I was like fully every version. I wasn't a smart ass with my students the same way I was a smart ass with my friends. That would just be inappropriate. But I was never inauthentic. I feel like every single time I log on to my computer for work for the last, 1.5 years, I felt like I've been lying to myself and lying to the people around me, saying that I care about, I don't care about other protocols in crypto. I don't care about the competition. Nobody has done anything interesting in crypto for a long time, and it's all just a bunch of infrastructure for apps that nobody was really going to build. Now, would this all be solved by me just getting into a different industry? I don't know. But why am I so... Here's the real question I have to ask myself. Here are the industries that I've worked in. I've worked in professional baseball. I've worked in book publishing. I've worked in crypto. I've worked in AI. Those are all really hard industries to get into and really sought after positions. And yet, there I was. I found a way to get into those industries. So why is it so hard for me to say, well, I don't know, getting into some entertainment industry, like getting into Disney or something, or telling stories through some big corporation or some small studio or whatever it might be. Why does that seem so far-fetched? Somebody in the thought process could be like, well, there's a very competitive, a lot of people want to get in there's a lot of talent. Dude, you could say the same thing about every one of those other industries that I've worked in. I just found a way to make it work because I wanted it. But I wanted it in a way that wasn't fully aligned. Like, why am I so apprehensive? Yeah. Why am I more inclined to put in this heroic effort to get into industries that are not fully aligned with who I am? Like, when I don't get me wrong, when I was in book publishing, like, I've cared about book publishing for a long time, but I did it in a way that was not aligned. I was ghostwriting books for CEOs, and like some of those CEOs became my friends, and like I deeply cared about their projects and them, but I was using my skill and my gift as a writer and storyteller, to write case studies for business books. Why did I put in so much effort to get into this hard to get into industry, this really niche industry, but do it in a way that dishonored my God-given talents? And why do I continue doing that? Why not go for the thing directly, Why do I get so scared to sign up to be a volunteer at church? Why do I get so scared to go to two-stepping? Why am I scared to take this leap and say, it's time to start searching elsewhere? Why am I scared to fully integrate the fun, like friendly, community-driven, creative parts of myself and bring it into a work environment and bring it into a job that like I'm deeply passionate about as well? Imagine that. Where I finished this book. This book is deeply personal, like it's just its own thing. But what if the next creative project is something that I create with other people in a company for my work? Why does that seem so far-fetched? I have a track record. I have a really significant track record. And yet there's this voice inside me saying I can't do it. But that voice didn't stop me from writing my first articles in crypto and building my first portfolio and just seeing what would happen. I think it is time for a change. I think I've been changing. I'm on day 40 of this diet. Like, yesterday I had, maybe it was earlier today, I had blackberries, blueberries, which is pretty typical. I'll have those pretty much every day. I felt clean for the last several weeks, like real clean. No, I've been tired some, but as far as digestively, I felt really clean. And I added strawberries, and I don't know if it was because there's, strawberries were on sale today. Shit, it might have been a pound for $1.57, dude. You say inflation? I don't know if it was the strawberries themselves or just that I ate too much fruit, but I felt like gut tummy rumblings. And it was the first time it really pointed out to me how clean I had been feeling, because it's the first time I had those tummy rumblings since I've started this process. And I didn't realize that I wasn't having them because I just wasn't having them. But I think I had those tummy rumblings quite a bit. Dude, eating just a massive amounts of meats and eating these leafy greens and eating sweet potatoes, and that's 75% of what I eat. I thought that it'd maybe make me gassy and stuff, but like, dude, I feel clean. That's all there is to it. So I have made changes. And I have started doing this. I have started like digging deeper into editing my book. There's something professionally that's left undone. And I think that it's whatever. I'm done rambling about it. I think God has been telling me to do something, and it scares me. And I know if I were looking at this from an outsider's perspective, I would be scared. If I were looking at this from an outsider's perspective, I wouldn't be scared, but I would see my fear, and I would see this thing saying, yeah, the fact that it scares you and the fact that it seems kind of doable but kind of crazy, this idea of, oh, I'm gonna, the fact that I can't quite articulate it. I'm gonna spend my time getting jacked. I'm gonna spend my time focusing on nutrition, and maybe spend my time like making videos out of it, and maybe spend my time writing my next book or editing this book or publishing this book. What are you gonna do? You know? And maybe on the professional front, maybe you start going for jobs that are more creatively inclined. Like maybe you start going for jobs that are more in line with what you want. Somebody reached out about the film and TV rights for my last book, which happens, I don't know, every 6 months or something. So why don't I like continue putting effort into selling those rights? Why don't I put an effort into finding an agent for this book? Why don't I put an effort into these other sides of creative endeavors rather than applying to another marketing position? Because that's easy. There's something reflexively easy. I say, well, I have experience doing this, so it'd be easy for me to get this job. But I've experience doing shit that I don't care about anymore. And it's even worse than not caring about it. You know, it actively degrades the integrity of my art because I can feel, how to put it, when I go back into the type of writing that's like truly authentic to me, and I do that editing, it takes me a bit to flip that switch from doing social media writing to doing that. Maybe this is just something that I shouldn't try to explain to people, because if I wait until I get to the point where I can explain it to people in a way that they are on board with it, maybe it'd be too late. Maybe there's no such thing as too late in that way, but maybe it would be just, it would take too long. The timing wouldn't be quite right. Maybe you have to jump and learn how to fly on the way down. I don't know if that's ever worked for me. But here's the thing. You know, a lot of the stuff I don't know has worked for me. Again, dude, I'm 35. I live alone. I live with my dog. I want a family. I don't even have a girlfriend. So, in some ways, what do you have to lose? You know, I think back to a couple of things. The fact that people with bipolar disorder have a 15% suicide rate. I think about periods in my life where I felt suicidal. I think about the fact that I'm the last of 5 boys. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. My parents did not plan on having me. In some ways, I have nothing to lose, you know? But it's a life, you know? It's my life. And I'm proud of some of the things that I've accomplished, but there's something really deeply important that's missing. And it's a family, and it's more creative fulfillment. And I don't think that God set out for me to be a fucking marketing manager for a crypto company. That's it. My friend, she told me after a yoga class last week that I was being really hard on myself, which really aggravated me because I didn't feel like I was being hard on myself. I was just talking about how frustrating it was that the jobs that I have in this industry and the industry itself just seems to prey on people, and I'm like part of something that I don't agree with anymore. And she was I think she was sensing something. She's like, you are being hard on yourself, but she just couldn't quite articulate it. Perhaps she was sensing something like my aggravation with, the work situation right now, the creative situation right now, seems like I'm externalizing it and saying like, oh, this is bullshit. But it's a way of like invalidating the work that I've done to be in this industry, and it is a way of invalidating the good stuff that I've done. And to just say like, oh, it's bullshit, calling it a bunch of bullshit, crypto, Twitter kind of stuff, is a way of putting myself down. I think that it would be important for me now to see like the good in what I've done, and to just look at this as a way to continue amplifying that. I mean, dude, what is there to lose? What is there to lose? When I left my last job, my last real full-time job I had was for this ghostwriting firm 5, 6 years ago. And I quit, and I didn't have any game plan, and I stayed in the industry because that was just where the momentum took me. I was like trying to find other clients to do ghostwriting for business books, this kind of stuff. And my heart was not in it. I did not care about it at all. And so I look back at that and I say, well, I tried this before and I failed at it. Or I look back at my last book and I say, well, I put in all this effort and it was moderately successful, but dude, there's something else. It's such a trope, like some inventor, some programmer, his first 2 or 3 endeavors fail, but he just keeps trying and eventually something works. So why is it that I look back and I say, well, last time I went solo and tried something unusual. Penguin, don't chew on your paws like that. Come up here. Up here. Penguin, come on up. Last time I went and I tried to go my own way, I didn't have a game plan. I'd never done it before. I was being immature. I was being prideful. I was leaving the job rather than just kind of sticking around and maybe looking for other options and letting them just kind of let me go. That's what I would do now. That's what I did now. And rather than doing that, I just left abruptly. I left a relationship and the work abruptly. Now, granted, neither of them were right for me. I was correct. But leaving them both all at once disallowed me from leaving them in the right way, in a way that would set me up for success in the next phase. And I didn't know what I wanted next as far as the work went. I just kept going with what I'd already been doing because it was easy and familiar and comfortable. I think there's something different here, and I think that I can leave it. I think I can leave this industry, and I think that I can be successful as long as I continue following the voice of God. 8.2 out of 10.